welcome to the EB Knits podcast. My name is Emily. I'm the creator of everything you see here at EB Knits. Welcome, thank you for being here. I am based in Orlando, Florida, and this is a finished object video about the caramel shawl by Kateryna Kazka. Yes, just double checking that I said that I had the designer right. I'll give you a close-up of the shawl before I go into, wait. Rewind, I'm showing you the back. Here's the front side of the caramel shawl. So this yarn is Lion Brand Heartland yarn. It is a worsted weight. The pattern calls for DK, but I used worsted because I was trying to use up yarn from my stash, and it didn't bother me that my yarn weight would be a little bit off. Let's see if I can get my hair to cooperate with the shawl on while I talk to you about it. So the reason, let's start from the beginning. One, I knew I wanted to use up this Lion Brand Heartland in brown, Mammoth Cave I believe it's called. It is a worsted weight. It's an 100% acrylic yarn. It is very soft, especially for an acrylic. I had ordered a bunch for some other crochet shawls, those pocket shawls that were very popular a few years back, but not as many people. I had people ordering them from me and wanting them, but I ended up buying too much yarn, and so I had a bunch extra. And one of my goals this year, if you're following along, you will know, is to use up my stash to decrease the amount of yarn in my house. So I was on a mission to finish to get rid of and to use all of this brown yarn, which now I have. So I also knew I wanted to cast on a shawl. I don't know why, but at the time I was really feeling a shawl. I almost cast on the Cozy Winter shawl, and I will insert a picture here for you. And that had been on my mind for a long time. I think that is called for worsted weight yarn. However, it is the same time that Russia invaded Ukraine, and Ravelry posted about how to find designers by country. There was a brief, I had a brief pause, but I am back. Hopefully you can hear me okay. I am sitting next to an open window. If it gets too noisy, I can close it. But let's resume talking about this caramel shawl. So I was telling you it's by a Ukrainian designer, Kateryna Kazka, and I had, I started working on it because Ravelry showed us that we could look up specifically Ukrainian designers or any designer by country and support them. And I really loved this. The original shawl I was going to make also had a cable featured with some garter. So it was a little bit similar, but this has more lace to it than the other one. And it is a full chart. So at first I was like, oh, look at all this garter here. That'll be so relaxing. But this part is a whole chart that I at least had to pay attention to the entire time. So, but before I get into all that, let me go back to, my brain is a little bit fuzzy. So let me go back to why I cast it on. So I wanted to support a Ukrainian designer. Never heard of her before, but I started looking her up on Instagram. She was sharing a lot about Ukraine. I haven't seen her post any updates recently. Admittedly, I don't check Instagram that often, but I have been looking and I haven't seen her post updates, so I hope her and her family are okay. The most recent comment I saw, she had mentioned she has some family in Kyiv, so that's the extent of what I know about her family and her safety right now, but I did want, like I said, to support her, so that's what I did. I went ahead and cast this on, and I ultimately really enjoyed it. It is, like I said, I cast on with a called for needle size, I believe, but in retrospect, I wish I would have gone up a needle size so what I actually did, I made that call halfway through the shawl. So I started off with the called for 5.5 millimeter needle size. I'm looking at Ravelry in front of me, so if you see me look down. And then I was like, this fabric is a little bit stiff down here. I was like, this fabric's a little bit stiff. Now it's been blocked and I don't notice that anymore, but that's how I was feeling right down here. So somewhere around here, I changed to a 6mm needle, and I'm very glad I did. I liked the drapiness that needle size provided. I don't know how many repeats of the pattern I ended up doing, but I am pretty confident to say it's more than the pattern called for. I think it looks smaller in the pictures, but I knit it, just made more chart repeats because I was feeling like, well, one, I got to a point where I felt like there was enough of this triangle front part, but I didn't feel like these arms, or whatever you want to call them, were long enough to wrap around in a comfortable way. So actually I made a modification. I started increasing in this garter portion about 4 more stitches every other row, every non-cable row. I increased on the right side 4 extra stitches and called for, so that way these arms, legs, whatever, would get a lot longer and this part wouldn't be getting so much bigger. So this is only my second shawl I've ever made, so maybe that was the wrong call, but I think it turned out well. And then these tassels, she does call for tassels, and she has a video on how to make them as well. It is, though, in Russian, I think. But I do know that her tassels are 20 centimeters, and I think these are about 6 inches. So originally I was not going to make them this big, but when I saw that hers were 20 centimeters and I did the conversion, you've heard me talk about all this before if you watch my vlogs, I made them larger, and I'm very happy with it. I think, you know, they also are an extension of this arm/leg that I was worried about. They weigh it down, they bring it down a little bit more, and I think that's a really nice element. I think this is going to be a gift for someone eventually. At this point I have steamed it. I think it looks really nice. I learned from Tony Lipsy of TL Yarn Crafts that the only way to really adjust acrylic yarn is steaming it, not through wet blocking. So that's what I do now. And I think it's really nice. I've never washed this project, but I will say I have machine washed and machine dried. Okay, pause for the bus. Oh, okay, I think the bus is just about past. Oh shoot, but now I forgot my train of thought. Oh, I have in the past machine washed and dried this yarn in a different project in a pair of shorts, and it was totally fine. Nothing happened to them, so I would feel comfortable recommending machine washing and drying this yarn. In hot even. So, but again, this is 100% acrylic. I don't recommend that for any natural fibers. What other adjustments did I make? So I was looking at my Ravelry. I had about 252 total stitches at the end, if that helps you at all. She does have a few stitch counts throughout her pattern. This is the very top, so it is like it took me a few tries to understand this last chart, but I looked at some other projects on Ravelry and was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. And then I didn't do the bind off she recommended. I bound off in pattern. I thought that looked a little nicer, but I don't think it would make that much of a difference. Other than that, I stuck to the pattern, but I did make a few mistakes. I have a mistake here. I don't know if you can see it. My phone just went dark. I have a mistake here. The cable is the wrong way. I have somewhere on one of these arms here, I've got a whole line of stockinette stitch instead of garter somehow. And I dropped a stitch somewhere, but I was able to weave that back in. So, oh, I have one more mistake. Somewhere over here, I saw that as I was going, but I was too far. I just left it alone. So this is the Caramel Shawl by Kateryna Kazka. I think those are all of that's all my feedback, all of my opinion on it. I think it's a really beautiful shawl. Again, it is charted, so I would definitely make sure you feel comfortable reading charts. I use the Knit Companion app, and that helped me. Otherwise, I think it is a really nice cozy shawl, and I highly recommend this pattern. And I'm assuming all of her patterns are written as just as well, so probably maybe an intermediate knitter just because of the charts I would recommend her patterns for. But otherwise, I was a huge fan of knitting this. I'm very glad it's finished and I can gift it. It's something I'm going to be very proud to gift this holiday season or whenever I decide to give it away. Thank you so much for being here. Again, my name is Emily of EB Knits. Subscribe, like the video if you enjoyed this, please, and I'll be back with more vlogs, more finished object reviews and comments, and I will see you soon. Happy knitting!